Hello everyone to the series How to Write for Premier Journals. And we have already covered what are premier journals, why the manuscripts fails, what are the expectations. We are covering the anatomy of the article in detail. We have already covered how to write the title for your manuscript, how to write an abstract, how to write an introduction. In the last video, that is the section or of this playlist 5.1, we have already covered how to do the theoretical underpinning. And in today's session, that is in playlist sequence 5.2, we are going to again dive down deep into what are the differences between theoretical and conceptual frameworks, because most of the researchers get confused, and often we also get confused collectively that how to frame the conceptual framework and how to make the theoretical framework. Following the same entire anatomy, we'll be covering all the sections, but today's video is focused on uh, theoretical frameworks versus conceptual frameworks. Before we start, let's have a story and let's listen to the story. That in the last video, we were talking about that as a researcher, there is an entire wall, and then we have to place our own piece of brick on that wall, and this wall is the body of knowledge. Okay, so already, if we want to place our brick on this entire body of knowledge or wall of knowledge, we cannot put it anywhere. We have to build on it. Okay, so if we are intending to put our piece of brick on this wall, we have to give the base of the previous placed bricks which are already available on this wall. Further, to elaborate on this, let's hear a story, or let's understand this with an example. So, as a researcher, imagine yourself as a baker. Okay, and right now there is nothing on the screen, so don't feel like there is something on the screen. I really want you to focus on what we are trying to understand. So, you are imagine yourself as a baker, and as a baker, that is baking of the cakes, of course. So what problem you see is that nowadays people are not so much fond of sugar based cakes. Okay, or they want more fruit based cake. Okay, so this is as a researcher, as a expertise in baking, you feel this problem is existing. Okay, so now this is your idea for research, that you feel the problem is existing, that the people are not liking or not preferring the sugar based cakes, or not do not want that icing based on creams, or icing based on that very calorie loaded creams. They are looking forward to some more uh, decorations that are fruit based or anything. So you are just noticing a problem there. Now, this is your research idea, that you want to provide a solution, that okay, if the people are facing this problem, my research paper want to address this problem. Now, can you directly come and bake your egg with very healthy icing, and just you know just making it less sugar free and doing the experimentations on that? That's okay. But when it comes to documentation of your research article, how we will be doing that? Remember, first, we have to discuss the core of the baking process that is already existing. So, we have to cite the previous already existing literature or already existing baking experts that that have previously baked the cakes, right? So it is all about existing knowledge. So we theoretical frameworks always talk about the existing researches, the existing knowledge. Now, like what will be the ratio of flours, what will be the ratio of eggs, sugar, baking time, and all these things. So the people, the existing studies who are already there talking about this is the theoretical framework. Now comes your idea. Okay, so based on these theories, you can discuss about that. Okay, person so and so or theory so and so talks about baking philosophies, theory Y talks about baking flavors, theory Z talks about the ratio of the ingredients. Now this research paper contributes adding this kind of fruits, this kind of less sugar, or replacing the sugar with some other substitutes, healthy substitutes. This is how we can enhance the quality. So remember, theoretical frameworks are all about existing researches. Conceptual frameworks are always about your idea, your variables, your constructs. Okay, and collectively using the knowledge. Okay, just give me a moment, let me just take the highlighter. Using the previous knowledge, you build your conceptual framework and then design. So collectively, what, how we are building, there was already this knowledge existing, and we are building with our own new idea. Okay, so these are the theoretical frameworks, and the models that talks about the variables of the study are conceptual frameworks. Now let's understand this in a deeper way. Let's first understand the theories. So theories are the abstract description of the relationship between ideas, statements, concepts that are already existing. Okay, so the researchers has already constructed them. So researcher constructed structure explaining the concepts, premises from theories ground the theory that scaffold the study. It answers the question, how does this theory shape the study? So theoretical frameworks are always about and always existing based on the previous theories. Conceptual frameworks are researcher constructed, logically developed argument justifying the need of the that particular research paper, that particular research study, and it shapes the design and guides its development. Okay, that why this research is important. Okay, so can we see how this research is coming up? We are going to do with this, that how this new idea is coming up, we are going to do with this. Okay, and then when the idea is there, why this research is important, because people are not liking or not preferring so much sugar loaded cakes, they want the healthy options. Okay, now we do it, or many of the research papers which you will see do it in two ways. Okay, either in deductive way or in inductive way. Okay, so let's understand the deductive way first. Deductive way always refines the theory through hypothesis testing. Okay, so we must be having an idea that okay, how we test the hypothesis. We were just now in the last video seeing one paper that was related to ambidextrous leadership. So how that paper was done? So the author was doing the theoretical underpinning and immediately was framing the hypothesis. Okay, and then he must have collected the data. So this is one way we refine the theories through hypothesis testing. The another way is to not only refine the theories but develop the theories as well. This includes first a tentative framework and then evolve that tentative framework with a conceptual model. So we have to understand both the ways. The paper which you will read might be on the deductive way, wherein the theory will be refined through hypothesis testing. Usually we will see this in conceptual frameworks as well. We are going to discuss that and see some research papers. And the another way is inductive way. Okay, let's dive down deep and quickly cover how they differ. So remember, theoretical frameworks are always based on theory in the form of models or the paradigms which serves as the basis of the study, right? The basic baking techniques, you remember? Now, the conceptual framework is researcher's own model, researcher's own idea, researcher's own variable. It is based on existing theories. Okay, what is the existing knowledge, theories, frameworks about that? However, conceptual framework is based on main variables. You remember adding on fruits, adding on less sugar, adding on some substitutes to the sugar. So that is your idea. Then comes, it merely specifies by providing a journal broader set of ideas with which the study belong to, right? So the study is talking about the cakes, and the study cannot be completed without the basics of the baking. So the study started with discussing about what are the basics of the baking, right? How the cakes are baked, what is the ingredients we require, what is the ratio we require. So we cannot talk about berries cakes or less sugar cakes without discussing the base of the cake making or base of the baking. And then it comes, and then we narrow down it to our own idea, that is we are discussing already. Now comes the nature of the model. So in the form of model, so theoretical frameworks are always is the form of model that pivots the studies with exponents and the results of the study. We are going to see that and understand better. It is researcher's own constructed model. Always remember, the conceptual model is always researcher's own made model. It is based on theories, it is based on concepts, and theoretical models features are general, less structured, loosely defined. However, the conceptual models are very, very specific. Let's have a look and understand it in a better way. So this is a theoretical framework in front of you. Okay, and I have taken it from a research paper. And this is a conceptual framework. What is the difference? The difference is the theoretical framework must be based on some prior theories. However, this is the framework, conceptual framework, which the researcher must have developed on the basis of the key components, the key words, the key concepts and variables of the study, and it is describing the hypothesis as well above the arrows, that what relationships the researcher wants to explore. We remember this approach, right? Refining the theory through hypothesis testing, and that's what is happening over here. Okay, so this is a conceptual model. This is an example of a conceptual model, and this is a theoretical model. Because when you will see and read these research paper, this model is based on these two theories. The first theory is bounded rationality theory, and the second theory is the limited theory of limited attention. Okay, so remember, this is the difference. This is the difference between conceptual and theoretical framework. Just if you want to read these research papers, I'm going to attach it into the description. So the theoretical model will always be based on the previous theories, and conceptual model, you as a researcher can frame it and define on the arrows. You will define that what kind of relationship you want to explore. Now, some more examples to give clarity. One more conceptual framework. So this is what the researcher wants to study. These are the keywords of the researcher: sustainable tourism, ethical tourism, and these are the hypotheses which will be testing it. Okay, so the relationship between sustainable outcomes and effective stakeholder will be studied by P2 hypothesis. P3 will be explored via P1. P3 will be explored via ethical tourism and political economy. Okay, so this is how and all the liberty goes to the researcher's hand, that how they want to make the model and how they want to project it, how they want to present it in their article. This is again a theoretical model to provide more clarity to you. So this again is a model based on two theories. Okay, so if a person or in a research paper, the person is saying it's a theoretical framework, remember, It must be based on some theories, otherwise it's a conceptual one. Sometimes we just make the model with our own keywords, own research ideas, and we call it as it's a theoretical framework. No, it's not. It's a conceptual framework if it is not based on any theory, okay, and if it's your own made model. So this research model is again theoretical framework is made on these two theories, that is a theory of adult learning and the theory of motivational contingency in design techniques. Okay, so this is the major difference between theoretical framework and conceptual framework, and how we will be seeing these in research paper. I hope it has given you some idea about what is the difference, okay? And whenever we write it in the research article, how we write it. So that's in short, and that's an attempt, everyone, to actually share and how, as a budding researcher, we can differentiate between conceptual and theoretical model. And if you have some more ideas towards it, please feel free to share. And thank you so much for being so patient. And yeah, see you in the next video with methodologies.